Welcome, YouTubers and my Clear Vision Club members to Clear Vision Wednesdays. And today's topic is perfect vision despite stress and screens. And this was not so much requested by anyone. This is really a topic that came up in a recent client consultation. So I had a consultation with a prospective student saying, like I'm in so much stress, I'm a student, I'm on the screen all day long. How can I improve, maintain or even improve my vision under these conditions, right? Like, how is this even possible? And yes, in an ideal world, we would all be zened out. We would be in a beautiful retreat in nature. We wouldn't have any screens and we would be in this chilled space. But let's face it, for pretty much all of us, unless you're retired or you don't have to work for money for some reason, or most of us are on screens. Stress is the point I'm going to address first, because stress is the point where it's both a real thing, but it's also a mindset thing. And it's, of course, are you under-resourced? Do you not have support? But my point is, stress is most of the time, it's really more here versus the stress. And I don't want to do a whole lecture on stress, but stress is a good thing. Stress is actually what gets us going in the morning. Stress is what helps us go to exercise or movement. Stress is what keeps us sharp when we present. So stress has this negative rap, and I think we all agree when we talk about stress in this context, it's about that chronic stress, that feeling of there's never enough time, I'm bouncing all these balls in the air. So it's not so much the positive stress that helps us jump away from a car that's approaching, or which is also stress. So just want to clarify that. And I have some notes on a piece of paper here, so that's why I'm looking over sometimes. So the first thing with stress, and again, it's really mostly here in the mind, is to create some kind of state shift. And that means that you get out of your head and into your body. And there's several ways you can do that really easily with simple things like breath. One of my favorite practices I like to show you today, so I wish I had little cards with numbers. So the first thing that I like to do, and I use that also as my clear morning ritual, part or part of my clear morning ritual, and that is what I call blink and breathe head circles. And I will show that to you, and you can follow along if you're watching this video, and maybe the first one you want to look, and then you can follow along. So you start with your chin down to your chest. So this is already a nice stretch for the back of the neck. And then on your inhale, you blink, 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 you go straight up, and then you close your eyes and you do 1.5 circles. So this is a nice roll for your neck. And then you end up back, chin to chest. And I'm exhaling when I'm speaking. So inhale, blink, 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 and then close your eyes, go in the other direction. And this is a longer exhale. And if you get dizzy, you can always pause after 2 of them. What I usually do, I do 3 to 5 in each direction, but even just doing 1 might feel really good. So I'm going to do it one more time in each direction. So chin to chest, deep inhale, blink, 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 blink. This practice is butterfly blinking. And then you close your eyes and you do 1.5 circles. Your back, chin to chest, blink, 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 blink. Inhale, and then exhale, going the other way. So with this technique, you accomplish several things at once. You practice your blinking, which is really important to avoid, to the second topic, screen, right? Like the screen fatigue, eye strain. Blinking is super important. We tend to blink less when we're on screens. The second thing you're doing, you're kind of creating more circulation and tension release in your neck, right? And the neck is the bottleneck of oxygen getting to your brain, and eyes are part of the brain. So that's the second aspect. And the third aspect is when we have longer exhales than inhales, it tells the body, the brain through the body, hey, we're not stressed. We're actually relaxed. Because if you would be chased by some kind of scary person or animal, you would not do longer exhales. You'll be like really quickly breathing. So when you do these long exhales with eyes closed, which is another thing, when you're stressed or when you're running from danger, you're not going to have your eyes closed, right? Unless you're completely in the freeze response and you're just completely kind of fainting. So that's there's probably a fifth thing, but this practice kind of has a lot of different things that gets you immediately into a more relaxed state. I hope this, when you followed along this, you notice the difference. I kind of want to go through these quickly so that the video doesn't get too long. And I'm watching, if there's anybody watching has comments, you can definitely post comments. So the second thing is similar in a way, it's less active, but the second thing is closing your eyes. Again, just kind of like, oh, I have all this stuff to do. Close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths. If you want, you can do the palming. We've done a previous video. You can rub your hands together. Mine are really cold right now. And you can do palming, which is kind of, you're covering your closed eyes with your cupped hands. But even if you don't want to do palming and you just want to close your eyes, either way, palming gives you even more benefit. So bring up something in your mind, something that makes you happy. Dr. Bates called this a foundation object, and I like to call it an anchor object. So don't worry about finding the perfect one, but bring up something that you just like, that could be a place, maybe it's the beach. I have a student who's a surfer. He just imagines himself being in a wave and surfing. Maybe it's your favorite cat or dog or your favorite person, or it's an imaginary place or whatever. Maybe it's a piece of music or, whatever it is for you, just bring that memory up of whatever that thing is. And that makes you go, oh, God, it's so nice. I feel so much better. And when you have a good, strong anchor, and for me, for instance, that wasn't a visual thing. Initially, I always strained when I thought of visual things. My sense of smell was very good because my visual sense wasn't that great as a kid. So for me, when I first learned this technique, I couldn't find anything. And again, you can shift, your anchor can change. Don't be like, find the perfect anchor. You can definitely explore and just explore with different things. For me, it was something smell. Like I love to smell and to play in the hay as a kid, right? We were on this farm a couple of times a year. We played hide and seek. They had this big, like on the top of where the animals were living in the stable, there was this big housing of just hay, right? And we just played in there, and it was so much fun. So that was my anchor object. And when you have an anchor object, when you have a really good one, think of Pavlov's dog, how he trained him to ring the bell, and then that initially was ringing the bell, bringing him food. So the dog associated ringing the bell with getting food, and he salivated. So when you have a good anchor, you can later on actually use that with your eyes open. You just bring that up in your mind, and you're like, oh, so you don't, initially it's really way easier. You're closing your eyes or you're palming. But later on, and this is actually also a vision improvement technique, you bring up that anchor object basically even with eyes open, where you're like, oh yeah, that would be so awesome. And if, again, if you struggle with imagining things like, let's say you're in the desert and you try to imagine being at the beach, that might be challenging, then closing your eyes, that was probably not a good example, but you get my point. And my third one is movement. And obviously when we did the head circles, that's what I like, the head circles, because it kind of has a lot of these things rolled into one. But a stage shift could be any kind of movement. It could be what we've done last time, right? We've done the long swing, where, and you can't see my feet here, but you watch my swing video if you really want to know how this works. But the long swing, you have your feet here, you see my feet, a little externally rotated, and you just swing from side to side. You let your eyes you're not trying to let your eyes move, but you just follow the head is moving, and you blink and breathe, and the eyes just follow along. And you can initially even do it like, where you're kind of almost hitting yourself, so you can really get all that tension and the arms go. You can even close your eyes. That feels really good. Just moving, like swinging around. Make sure you pivot. You see me pivoting on one foot, right? So that you're not twisting your knee. You have to pivot on one foot. You can sigh it out. That's one way. Another way is to do a 30-second burst of high intensity exercise. I just ate lunch. That's probably not the smartest thing for me to do. But that could be like, running in place, like really fast. You're running in place. And 30 seconds would seem like forever. You could do push-ups. You could do, knees to chest, or kick your heels to the butt, or whatever you want to do, or do some lunges, or something that gets your heart rate up. And you will feel in it, you know, that might sound like more stress, but it will actually be like, it just gives you that kind of release. And this is really good to balance your blood sugar too. So exercise, high intensity, quick bursts of exercise, lower your blood sugar, which will help with your vision. And most of you might have noticed that when you're moving, your vision might be better because, right, remember staring, like being still, not breathing, holding your breath, it's all the straining habits. When you're moving, you're breathing, you know, you're blinking, you kind of activate the whole blood flow into the lymph flow, blood flow, all that stuff is really working. So some kind of state shift. Another one that I love to do is just like, that's more simple, but just kind of like, you know, think of Titanic, you know, like, you know, like kind of a chest opener, opening up your heart. There's like, yeah, all the stuff to do. Take a few deep breaths in, you can even lean your head back. Oh. So that's kind of a more passive kind of counter stretch. So all those things, those three things are really great for stress and, you know, for vision improvement also. And now let's get to screens. So the second aspect of that person was like, I'm spending all day long at the computer. What can I do? How can I even improve my vision? And the overarching thing of both of these topics is blinking and breathing, right? Blinking is something we tend to forget when we're on the screen. There's actually studies been done where they looked at people, you know, looking into another human's eyes, a friend's eyes, versus looking at a screen, and the blinking rate was way reduced with the screen. So this is just human tendency. So when you catch yourself, maybe put a sticker on your screen, maybe do like, I teach this 30-second butterfly blinking where you blink your eyes rapidly for 30 seconds. You know, don't do that with the bursts together. That might be too many things, but teaching your body and your brain how blinking feels good. So that's overarching. And then breathing in generally, right? Breathing, with breathing, and I haven't even started the 3 topics or screen, but breathing, there's 3 ways to improve or create more relaxation in your body with breathing is longer exhales. That's what we did with those head circles, right? Inhale was inhale, inhale, inhale. And then exhale was this way longer thing because you did this big head movement. Another way to use the breath to create relaxation outside of the longer exhales is to breathe more into your abdomen. So when we are stressed, we often breathe into what Jill Miller, my mentor Jill Miller, calls zone 2 breathing, which is up here, or even zone 3, which is kind of like, you know, like kind of that kind of breathing. So you do want to breathe more into your abdomen, maybe even put your hand on your belly. You know, you see my messy desk here, but put your hand on your belly, or one hand on the chest, one on the belly. You know, and when you do a burst, obviously you breathe into the chest. But when you're just sitting at your desk, can you maybe find a way where the chest is not really doing this big movement and you're not taking full deep breath? You know, when you're at the doctor and they say, take a deep breath, you would definitely breathe into your belly, your ribs, your whole, right? But right now, let's focus more on breathing into the abdomen so that if you would be on your back or even here, and I don't know, but when you're breathing, you're really on the inhale, and I can't talk and inhale. My belly extends, and when you exhale, the drop belly, and I'm exaggerating a little bit so you see it, but you inhale, the belly expands like a balloon, and you exhale, it contracts. So it might not make that big of a movement, but those are 2 ways to just use breath to create relaxation. My specific screen tips for you, the 3 tips. First of all, I'm looking again at my notes, is so blue blockers have been a big topic. Blue light is definitely not great for the eyes. The sunlight has blue light, and that is healthy, but the screens have a lot of blue. So you can either use a blue blocker like these from Ezekiel, Iron, which are also EMF. These are not prescription, they're just simple glasses that block EMFs as well. I personally don't like to wear them during the day because I want blue light. That's why I don't recommend getting blue light blocking in regular glasses. It's an upgrade that you can get because I have sunshine, I want that daylight to kind of keep me alert. I just want the less blue from the computer screen. And so that's why I recommend either Iris. It's iristech.co is a fantastic software. That one is not free. They have a lot of different settings. And then the other one is Flux, F-L-U-X. I think that one is free. And then I use the built-in night shift mode on my Mac. So if you have Apple devices, they have something called night shift mode. And I have that set to being on all day long. You have to cheat the system a little bit. There's no 24/7 setting, but you can do something scheduled. And instead of from sunset to sunrise, which is more for the circadian rhythm and melatonin secretion, what I have set it is like 4 a.m. to 3:59 a.m. So that mine is on all day, except for that 1 minute during the night when I'm sleeping. So that's one thing, the blue blocking of the screens. Important too is peripheral stimulation. So when we are on the computer, we tend to have that like, oh my God, the screen, this tunnel vision. Good vision is always a mix of central focus and peripheral field. So there's two things about the periphery that's important. One of them is making sure that you're not sitting in a dark room with only your screen lit, because then there's no, your peripheral vision is not active if it's dark, if there's nothing to notice, right? So match the lighting in your office or wherever you work on the computer, so that you have, you know, at night, even if you work late at night, you don't want to necessarily have bluish kind of light bulbs, but have some kind of brightness as long as you need to be alert, right? As long as you're working. So that's why no computer, no screens once you're in bed. You really want to avoid that. You want to avoid anything bright. But I'm assuming right now it's already dark outside. As we go to summer, that might not be such a big deal. But let's say you get up before sunrise, or you work beyond sunset. You want to make sure that the lighting in your room is matching kind of the screen, the brightness of the screen. The second aspect of peripheral vision is movement. So I have my second screen and I see myself on YouTube, a little delayed on YouTube. So that's a great peripheral stimulator, right? Playing some kind of YouTube video. And I learned this from my colleague, Nathan Oxenfeld, who gets these videos, these YouTube videos. It's a lot of times it's like drone footage. It's like nature, like 3-hour videos, very calming music. You can even play the music. And you either, if you have a second monitor or maybe a third, maybe you even have 2 on the sides, you can make that YouTube video like small and drag it to the corner, right, of your second monitor. Or if you only have one screen or a laptop, you can make it even smaller and just put it in the bottom right or bottom left, you know, of your screen. So if you, like, what I found is that most people have more, and this is a good check-in. So check in with your peripheral field. Do you have more awareness of your right or your left periphery? And I'm talking about awareness, not where it's not looking there, looking ahead. For most people, and this definitely goes for me, the dominant side, I'm a right dominant eye. You know, of course, lighting has something to do with it, but let's assume, and now I see my movement there as on my second screen. However, there is usually more awareness, kind of a feeling of noticing that space on the dominant side, but that might not be the case for you. Or maybe you don't know what your dominant eye is. But here's the thing, so if you, like, for me, stimulating my left side would probably be even more helpful, because I already tend to have awareness of the right side more than the left. So maybe if you have that MacBook, I'm talking about laptop or a computer screen, put it on the side where you usually don't have that much peripheral awareness. Make that little video small. The other thing you can do, any animated GIFs, you know, those little, anything that moves, doesn't matter. I had a student who suggested an aquarium. She had an aquarium on the side. So, you know, maybe you have, this is like a little party cocktail stick, but maybe you have some kind of mobile, you know, something that floats with the wind or wind chimes or something that moves. So in the periphery, we usually pick up movement. So that's tip number 2. And then my last one is, you probably guessed that, is shifting your attention away from the screen. So shifting your attention from near to far. And that's where I wish I had a second camera on my laptop on the back of the outside, but I don't. My setup is such that I have a window, like here's my computer, and right behind is my window. And I can look, I would guess that's probably 40 feet into my backyard. So don't put your computer in front of a wall or put it in a cabinet. You want to be able to look up yet easily, like you're working, you're thinking, and then you're like, and then your gaze is shifting far, not like this much further than the computer. So that makes it really easy to shift your attention near and far, versus if I would be against the wall, let's say I have my computer over there, then every time I want to look in the distance, I have to get up and turn around. And let's be honest, we're not doing that. So support your setup, support your eye health with your setup versus trying to squeeze yourself into an unfavorable computer setup. So quick review for stress management, and this obviously helps with screens as well, is the blink and breathe, those circles where you inhale, 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 blink, 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 and then you exhale. So you do that at least once in each direction, or maybe 2 or 3 times, or up to 5 times, might feel good unless you get dizzy. If this is really easy for you and you can easily do 1.5 circles, you can do 2.5 circles on the exhale. So you even make it even longer. The second one was closing the eyes or palming the eyes and bringing up something that I call an anchor object, some kind of memory or imagination that makes you go, oh, you know, beach is always an easy one for most people to get. If you love the beach, you just imagine yourself at the beach. You can actually use all your senses. When you bring it up, you're like, you hear the seagulls screeching. Maybe you hear some children playing. You hear the crashing of the waves. You smell that salty air, you know. So really engaging, putting yourself in that space. And eventually you can do that with open eyes as well. And then the third one was that kind of state shift. So movement, long swing, little bursts of energy, maybe just that kind of stretching out, but just kind of shifting your state from being up in here into your body. And then for the screens, we talked about blue light blockers, ideally on the screen, some kind of software, either built in or one that you use as an app or an extension, Chrome extension. The second thing for screen was peripheral vision. So making sure that your room is not dark, but that you have enough awareness, and then some movement in your periphery, either a little GIF or a video on your secondary screen or your main screen, or some mobile or something else moving. If you have animals, if you have pets, maybe if you have cats, you put the cat tower, you know, on the side of your desk, and maybe, you know, that they will eventually move depending on the animal. Some of them, you know, a hamster might be, they also sleep a lot during the day, so that might not be helpful. I'm just thinking like what animal is moving a lot during the day. But you get my point. You want some movement in your peripheral vision, and ideally on the side where you have less awareness. And then the third one was shifting your attention near and far. And you might have heard of the 20-20-20 rule. To me, that's way too little. That means like every 20 minutes, look up for 20 seconds, 20 feet into the distance. 20 minutes looking up is too long. So I recommend, I don't like to set timers, and but if you have an easy setup and I have bamboo in the backyard and it's really windy and that stuff is always moving, right? The backgrounds, there's always birds, there's squirrels in my tree. So, there's always action outside my window. That's way more interesting than the stuff on my screen. So that makes it really easy for me to shift my attention into the distance, right? So that was Clear Vision Wednesday today. I hope this was helpful. And I'm just going to check my YouTube if there was any live comments. No. Oh, there was a thumbs up. Thank you for that. So I will turn the live feed off. If you want to join my Clear Vision Club, I will. I'm really behind in putting my description into the YouTube, but my Clear Vision Club members get a little short Q&A with me afterwards. They're with me on Zoom. So that's the awesome part of being a member of the Clear Vision Club, that you get to see me on Zoom. So I will stop the live feed now so that we can talk amongst ourselves. And bye, YouTube friends.